Here we are, folks. 1 second. Here we are again, folks. It's the first day of summer 2018. My compatriot here, Tom McLaughlin from Lovell, Maine, who's been studiously getting ready for this show. I, of course, was brought in from the bullpen. Somebody didn't show up, so I'm here, and I wasn't prepared. But I'll tell you, if I'm talking about Trump, I'm prepared.
Well, I was all prepared. I had my manila folder with all my show prep in it, and it's still on the counter in my kitchen. So
Good place
I came
for
without
it.
it. But it's in my, just like a, what do you call that, a bear trap brain? No. If it ever was a bear trap brain, I don't remember.
Well, the first day of summer. This is
this is
longest day of the year.
Summer solstice.
The solstice.
Oh, it is?
Well, we're just jumping.
Well, sometimes it's on the
Well,
20th.
they'll be watching it tomorrow, maybe.
All right.
Tomorrow fleets through our past. No, you know that.
Yeah, we're close enough.
Okay, we've got a question from top management. Just observed it. It's been on our big desk here, waiting for them to.
And we have not seen this, and none of our show prep prepared us for this, so here it is.
Our producer didn't even see it.
This is a cold call.
This was written last night while I was watching Limbaugh tapes. Do you think the separation of families seeking asylum or crossing the southern border illegally has been handled properly by the government? If not, how do you think the situation should be handled?
Well, good question. I'm going to start with this. Yesterday, I was tuned into the hearings on the House Judiciary Committee because the IG from the DOJ was there to answer questions about his report released last week. Now, I was very interested in this. And so the Republicans went down through and they make speeches rather than ask questions. So they're making their speeches. Well, they all stayed on the report, and what they. But then when the Democrats, Elijah Cummings from Maryland, was the ranking member of the Democrat, and he talked about that. But then the next time he gets up, he talks about the border, and he starts crying. He said, "These children are being ripped from the arms of their parents," and blah, blah, blah. And then every other Democrat on the committee said the same sort of thing. They didn't talk at all about the IG report. They talked about this, okay? So then, meanwhile, the media is focusing on it with sound files of kids crying, "Papa, Papa," and pictures of kids, "Oh, Daddy, Daddy, where are you?" and so forth, right? So, I mean, what I saw was a demonstration of the awesome power of liberal Democrats and their media allies and how they can focus the nation's attention away from something and toward something else.
So what you're basically saying in this latest little discussion is that the border crossings are being handled perfectly okay?
No, I talked about how the power of media to focus on an issue. Now, these same things had been done during the Bush administration, during the Obama administration, and now they're being done during the Trump administration. They're done more strictly as a result of a policy decision made by the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, about 2 months ago, when he said, now we're going to
start
focus on the letter of the law. We're going to, there won't be any exceptions. But we would like to change the law so as to enable those families who come here with children to either stay intact or to be deported intact if they're not, because they're seeking asylum. So either you get asylum or you don't. So if you get it, you're here. If you don't, you go back. Well, those policies were made decades ago. And so let's change them. And it's a political football. So I do think that they should be changed, but they should be changed legislatively because the Congress has made these rules. Now, what the ruling that Trump made, he backed up his AG when Sessions made it, is to just enforce the law. The law had already existed. So it's not, Trump could say, yeah, stop enforcing the law, but then, of course, that's going to invite that much more immigration of the kind that we need to stop.
Well, according to the numbers I've seen in the last year or so, immigration has dropped precipitously. I think part of it was because maybe the economies in Mexico and some of them are getting better. This particular group, and the thing that really leads you to believe something has to be done, is that they represent 16 nations. So I'm going to guess there's like 2,000 kids involved. Let's say there's 4,000 parents involved.
Central American and
Central American.
other than
Guatemala.
Mexican.
Right, this is a
yeah.
Mexican.
Okay.
They're strictly, basically, there. What we always did in the past, and I think this is kind of historical for our country, if people came to the border and applied for asylum because of conditions that were affecting their life where they lived, normally what they used to do, what Obama and I think Bush was doing, they took those people, they segregated them. And then at some point, they have a hearing with a magistrate, and it's decided whether they can stay or go.
Right.
I think what Trump is confusing, and a lot of these people are confusing it with what they call catch and release. Now, catch and release is when they catch a person crossing the border illegally into the United States, and they're probably, a lot of them are Mexicans, and they come in and work here, or whatever. Maybe they commit crimes here, like Bush says. Like Trump says. But what they do is they release them till the hearing date, and then what they say is, oh, we caught them, but then they got released. Catch and release. One of the problems we have is they haven't been appointing magistrates to handle these things, so the volume, as it grows, and it has grown, with the troubles going on in Latin America, as we talked this morning, the MS-13?
Yeah.
MS-13 gangs are being dumped out of California, Nevada, West Texas, all these different, as they show up, they're interrogated. They see them with all their tattoos that designate them as MS-13 members, and they're dumping them. And what's happening is they're dumping them back in Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, all the places where these 16...
Where they came from.
Yes, where they came from, illegally into our country without, passport, where they're there. So what's happening, they go back into these areas, now they're formed gangsters. They may have been gangsters before, now they're super gangsters. They go back there, and they're scaring the hell out of the people who live there. Now, you can tell when these people come in. I mean, you get a 5-year-old kid. Some people say, well, they're paying them to bring them there and all this. They're getting money for this. Maybe so. I would rather err on the side of caution. Don't start building cage cities to hold these kids. People have to understand the temperature down there is 105 degrees every day. They better have really good air conditioning. They're going to have a lot of people dying. So that alone is, I think that our decision to take the kids away, and I think it's mostly Trump's decision, because he could not do that. He could not do that. He's got the right to not do it. It's better for him politically and everything else. The big thing about Donald Trump, he doesn't care about politics. He's got a mission. He's on a mission. It's got nothing to do with the betterment of the United States or our relations with our democratic neighbors. His mission, I believe.
This is a complicated issue.
It is.
Let's look at it this way. Democrats want open borders. Some Republicans, not all, some Republicans also want open borders, along with the Democrats. And other Republicans, that is the conservative so-called Tea Party wing of the Republican Party, does not. And Trump was elected on the strength of several issues, but mostly that one.
Yeah.
Stopped illegal immigration. Now, illegal immigration has been a huge problem, especially if you're in a border state. It's a huge expense. It is, Democrats won't say they are for open borders, even though, in my opinion, that is their agenda. They want as many to come across as possible, and the Republicans, the conservatives that is, don't want that to happen. Now, the people who are coming are brought by mules or donkey, what do they call it? Coyotes, right? They're the ones that bring them there, right? They pay them $2,000, rape the women along the way, get through the desert in rough shape by the time they arrive at the border. Plus, then you got Mexico, which has immigration policies much more strict than ours. They don't want Guatemalans and Nicaraguans and El Salvadorans in Mexico, and they deported right away. They not allowed in. But, oh, you want to come to the United States? Well, okay, here you go. Come right through Mexico. That's a long way. That's a long walk.
Oh, hey, you look at the map. They're coming 1,000 miles.
That to happen, to get all the way over there. Plus, many of these kids, the coyotes and immigration lawyers here in the United States go down there. Mexican government officials, all the other government officials from those Central American countries, they coach these people. Go ahead. Make sure when you get there, you tell them, I'm here for asylum. And it would be better if you had a kid with you, because the American law is such that if you have a kid with you, then they'll let you in, they'll keep the kid, and then they'll maybe send you back. But if they come to a port of entry, in one of the actual crossing places, like Nogales or others, Douglas, then you go right into asylum, and you go right on welfare also. That's another benefit of being on, declaring you're an asylee. And what are you fleeing? Well, I'm fleeing all these gang violence. Oh. Well, what about if you live in Chicago on the south side? Are you going to flee gang violence? Where are you going to go? I mean, it's just, that's not an asylum thing.
What we're saying,
it's a gimmick.
It's a huge problem. All right, it's a huge problem. And we've talked about this now. This is getting sickening. We've been talking about this for 10 years, okay?
Well, it's been going on for longer than that.
And I've said the solution, and it's a good solution, is anyone that hires an illegal alien without a green card gets fined $1,000 a day.
I'm with you.
Do you know how soon that ends the problem?
Yeah.
Immediate.
It would cut back on most of it, yes.
These big farmers, the big companies that are whatever they're doing, growing tomatoes.
Yeah.
I don't care what they're doing. These people come here during the growing seasons, for the most part. I don't think they've ever really studied it.
Those who come as migrant workers should be allowed in.
That's exactly.
I agree. We need them.
They're mixing the baby with the bath. They're throwing everything into one lump. And then you got a guy like Trump, who I tell you, I despise the man.
I know you do.
And
Thanks
you know
for
that.
admitting
I think he's an evil man. He uses that. He uses the fact that the people on his 40% group of people that support him, there's a lot of
40% of Americans.
40% of probably the Republicans. I don't know. 40% of Americans. Let's say that. I don't know.
The people who voted for him.
A lot of them don't like brown people. And I mean, when Trump himself comes out and says that they all come from S-hole countries, we should have more people from Norway. Well, that's fine. He's got a bunch of people from Norway on his staff now, and people that are just what he wants to be around.
He didn't say no. We should have more people from Norway.
He did say, he said Norway. Why don't we get more people from Norway?
I believe he was talking, well, I won't interrupt.
No, it's okay. But it is true. He did say Norway. But the point, now I was watching
in another context.
Yeah. But so the point is, look, the guy, 40 years ago, was indicted for not renting to black people. He has made all these comments for the last couple of years supporting the other side, or basically said, well, it was bad on both sides. What do you mean? You're comparing people that took off their KKK uniforms and just wore swastikas. They're the same as the people that were out protesting them being there? Look, he hates these people. He found a home hating them because now he has his base. He says, I'm doing this for my base. Of course he is.
Okay.
So that's his base.
I completely reject.
I know you reject all senses of racism.
Putting racism into this argument because I don't think it's a factor at all in it. I think it has to do with politics. It has to do, when Democrats look at illegal immigrants, they see future voters. When conservative Republicans look at them, they see tax burden, dilution of American culture, and they see Democrat voters, not Republican voters. And I think those are some of the basic dynamics. There are many other dynamics, but I think those are the basic ones. Democrats can't say, oh, we're for open borders. We want to let anybody in that wants to come. And for that reason, they're not going to say that. Just like they're not going to say, oh, we're going to confiscate all your guns. And Republicans aren't going to say, we're going to stop all abortions. None of them are going to say what they really want. They're going to couch it in other terms that are going to be politically effective for the time. And what we're witnessing over the last several days is a triumph of Democrat propaganda, politics, demagoguery of this issue. Now, look, let's compare it, for example. You remember when that abortionist in
Which one?
Philadelphia
Oh, the
who was on
doctor,
trial,
yeah. Well,
right?
kind of a doctor, yeah.
Can't remember
A
his
black
name
guy.
now.
I know who you mean.
And he was
Who?
Kermit Gosnell. That was
Kermit
his
the
name,
Frog.
yes. Kermit
Gosnell.
Gosnell. The mainstream media completely ignored this trial. Why? Because there were pictures there of what this guy was doing.
Yeah.
The babies were born alive. He was
Yeah.
killing them
Right.
in a gruesome way. And to look at those pictures would just
Make you
turn
sad.
so many people from pro-choice to pro-life
Of course.
right away. And so they ignored it. They weren't
Right.
going to do it. Now, you had the same kind of pictures available during the Obama administration that you're being seen now all over the media. But the pictures of these, oh, Papa,
But they weren't separated then.
guess what? It is hugely effective.
Yeah, but they weren't separating their
I'm
families.
talking about
Yeah.
propaganda here. How media controls public attitudes by what pictures they show
True.
to
They can do that.
to help the cause for illegal immigration, what pictures they don't show to help the pro-abortion people.
Let me just
That is
interject.
where the media comes from.
want-
And what we're seeing is, so they accomplish that, and one more thing.
Go ahead.
Also, the hearings for the IG report came out.
Yeah.
Was started yesterday, and
Yeah.
I watched them for hours, right? They wanted to focus the nation's attention away from that. It was a brilliant,
of
brilliant
course, no.
display of power.
Tom, you're missing
And
the
it was-
boat. Trump was complaining yesterday, the same complaint you've got. Those pictures, those recordings, the media. Those are all given to the media by the government. All of those crying scenes and pictures inside the cages, those were government pictures that were taken, that were given to the media because they can't go in those buildings. But see, that's the media. Well, it's also what the government gave to them. So what are you supposed to do? Rip them up, say, I didn't see these like Fox does? Oh, wait a minute. Put that over there. We didn't see that. We didn't listen to Hannity on that. Come on. Give it the program, man.
Do you think do you see any truth in what I just said? Comparing, say, the media chose to ignore the Kermit Gosnell trial because most media are liberal Democrat, pro-choice people, and saw that this was going to be devastating against abortion.
Okay, let's
So
step
therefore
back.
they ignored it. They are very much in favor of immigration from south of the border. Okay? So therefore they're going to focus like a laser beam on that and portray it the way they want to. And if you saw Elijah Cummings crying
saw
up there,
it. That made me sick, too.
crocodile tears and
I
so
don't like
forth,
it.
you know,
I don't
it
like
was
it. That's over the top, and I agree. But you know how you Republicans, you conservatives, you right-wing people, how you forget history. See, I love to bring history up because obviously you haven't. Have you? Yeah, you are. You've been a history teacher. Go back to, I think it was 1999 or 1998 or whatever. I think Clinton was president. Yeah, it must have been. There was a little boy living in Cuba, just a little fella. His name
Elian
was
Gonzalez.
Elian Gonzalez. That was a family spat. The father wanted him here, the mother wanted him there. They went on a
who was
boat.
it? Bush was president, right?
Bush was
George
president.
W.
The boat went from Cuba to Florida, and there was a big battle. And I remember
No, Clinton. Clinton
it was
was
Clinton was president. The media was all over it like a cheap suit.
Yeah.
How dare they want this kid to remain in communist Cuba?
Yeah.
Everybody on the right was against Clinton
You're
at
right.
the time. Right?
It's a good example.
There was one person, one little bugger named Elian, okay?
Yeah.
And everyone on the right went calypso. We got 2,000 children in the same situation without a boat. Now,
Right.
what you're saying
Where?
on the right,
You're talking about southern border now?
talking about Southern Border, let's take those. I never at the time heard anybody say about Elian, oh, you didn't get in here because you're not an American citizen. Send him back to Cuba right now.
Or he was here legally.
He was here with his mother on a raft. He was not here. He
But
was
it's
here
legal
illegally.
for Cubans fleeing Castro to
Right.
get asylum in the U.S.
They're fleeing him.
It was a
Yeah.
law.
Well, see, you have a problem believing that maybe out of the 2,000 children that are there, maybe 500 of them, their parents are fleeing MS-13. Give them a chance to tell. Let's hear the whole story. We jump to conclusion. I didn't like the guy crying on television about, but I also didn't like Trump's old campaign manager on TV last night. And the guy was talking about the kids crying. He's all wonk. There was a kid that had I can't remember what it is. He had autism or something like that, and he was crying because he was left in the cage down there. And I can't think of the guy's name. The former Trump campaign manager was on Fox. One guy was here, the guy's
former campaign he's in solitary
What's his
confinement
name?
right
Yeah.
now.
And he was
You
going,
got,
the other guy. I can't
Corey
think.
Lewandowski.
And he goes, oh, wonk. He's making fun of the kid because he was crying, right? The other guy jumped through. See, you get people on both sides.
I agree. Both sides do it.
But the point is, there's a problem here. We can look. We're a big country. We're a big country. We can straighten this stuff out. But it takes more than this political stuff on both sides.
Both sides do it. But now,
they do.
But now, in media, even during the Clinton administration, which is 25. He was elected in 92. He took office in 93. So that's 25 years ago.
Right.
Right now, 25 years ago, they were left of center. Today, they are extremely left of center. All the mainstream media, except Fox News and whatever these local stations that
hundreds
are like Channel 13 are owned by
hundreds of radio stations are controlled
and
by the
AM radio stations, most of them. Yes, you're right. And that is it.
Yeah,
right?
but keep in mind what you're missing and what a lot of people are missing. Back in 1992 and 3, we had the three majors. You had to be at home at 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock to watch the news.
Did we have cable at that point?
We did. We had CNN, and I think none of the rest existed. So now you've got all these cable outlets fighting for the same shred of news.
Yeah. As far as cable news, Fox dominates.
They dominate, but they dominate from
all of television, the three alphabet networks, by far.
So when you get a situation like this, the Elian Gonzalez thing, the lady that was dead and they wanted to put her under. Remember the ones they wanted to take that lady off the machine, and all the senators came back to Washington on a Sunday night to vote?
I do remember.
That's political.
It is.
And it's it was a Republican thing.
It is, yes.
Okay, they all came back to vote on a Sunday night.
I forget
Bush came in.
Yes, I remember.
So it hasn't changed.
No, it hasn't. Both sides use it. But now I'm saying that what we saw over the last few days is an awesome display of it, especially yesterday. It was really something.
But anyway, getting back to...
Then I watched Fox News, right? I mean, Red Bear. I watched him all the time.
Well, he's pretty good.
And I'm thinking, okay, I really want to see him. I'm expecting he's going to lead with the Judiciary Committee hearings with the IG Horowitz.
They don't.
That didn't come until like 6:20. All the stories to begin with were on this.
Just getting back to the illegal entry into the country, we have to handle it. I don't think it's as bad as it was. I think that Trump is using it for political advantage with his base. I think he does that. I wish I was wrong, but I think he does.
You mean the border thing?
The border thing. He does it for his base. He's got a very, very wild base, a lot of them.
You don't think then that Donald Trump has any principles at all? He's a completely on it for power.
He's completely amoral.
So you don't believe that he actually believes in any of the things that he's proposing in his platform?
Obviously, because he was a Democrat all those years. He was giving donations to Hillary Clinton 5 years ago. Come on, let's get with the point.
Okay.
I mean, he's a phony.
I wrote about him this week. I don't know if the Conway Sun is going to publish it because it's a national issue and they spike it oftentimes. But
we can resolve.
I wrote about it. Okay, and I wrote again. I said when I decided to vote for Trump, only when he won the nomination, it was either Hillary or him. Then I decided to vote for him. But so I see what you see. I see his flaws. I see his narcissism. I see his ego, and I find them very, very off-putting. Always did.
The danger.
However, I do believe that he does have a core, and he does actually believe that illegal immigration is bad for the United States. He believes that in the tariff stuff that he's doing now, even though I have mixed feelings about that, And he believes in the tax cuts, and he believes in the other stuff, in handling Kim Jong-un, how he did that. I think he's operating according to instinct, and he's doing a good job.
I don't want to get out this.
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. You think, no, he's a complete opportunist, and he doesn't believe in anything.
Well, I'll tell you why I don't think I don't think he believes in anything. Because when he owned his hotels in Florida, in and around the country, I assure you, he used thousands and thousands of workers without green cards. He took these people and they worked for him. They did the cleaning, the dusting. If you go into any hotel in this country, do you honestly think when you walk by a room and there's a black lady?
I have no way of knowing, but I suspect you're probably right about that. That
And they
many of
come
them
in,
are
they
illegals.
work.
Yes,
They come here and
in
work.
restaurants and in
you're
hospitals
assuming,
and so forth.
You're
yes.
assuming, like everybody else on the right, that because a man, comes here in July to cut cane in Florida, that he doesn't really want to go home, that he loves this place so much. Believe me, a lot of these people just come here to earn a living. They take that 6 months worth of pay home. That's home. Mexico is home to them. Guatemala is probably home to them.
I don't blame them for wanting to do that.
I don't blame them for wanting to get the hell out of here myself. But now Haiti, for years and years and years, for 100 years, we've brought people from Haiti to Florida every summer to cut cane, okay?
Pick apples in New England,
Whatever.
cut cane down there, yeah.
And they go home.
They do.
They go home.
Most of them.
But
yeah.
there's a measure to how you can change it.
I'm all for that.
Change the
Okay,
welfare
regulate it.
rules. If my sister worked for the Supreme Court in Massachusetts, they get more representation probably a lot of times than they really deserve.
What?
They can get, some foreigners with no papers can get more representation than they possibly do
Representation?
in court. In court.
Oh, hell, they get.
I mean, they go
yeah,
to court.
they do.
They
Well,
get in
Massachusetts is a sanctuary state.
Okay, but the point is, we can change those things if we use our heads instead of throw the
We
baby
can.
out there. You know,
We can.
You can
Legislate-
modify that.
If there's a political will. Is there a political will in Massachusetts? I don't
Is there a
think so.
political will anywhere really?
Yes.
Well,
I
I don't
think that's, and Donald Trump's election is an example of that.
Yeah.
There is a political will. And,
Well, we can get on to chat.
and
Why
in
don't we-
Europe, and when he said that about Merkel, just the other day, he said Merkel's in trouble. Guess what? Merkel is in trouble. She has a very fragile coalition now to rule in Germany.
Yeah.
And that coalition is fracturing over what? Immigration.
Yeah, I know.
It
that's
is.
the favorite.
The
I know.
parties, she has two parties that she has formed this coalition with, and both of them are saying, you have to stop, you have to send people that come to the German border back to Italy, back to Spain, back to France,
But we have both
wherever they
agreed now,
came from.
after this discussion.
And she said, no, we're not going to do it.
We
And now
both
she may become the former
I don't
chancellor
want to
next
talk about
week.
Germany yet. Right at
It's
this
important.
point,
We're talking about excuse-
We're
all
looking at American people coming into America, okay, that we
It's
disagree with.
happening all over
Here's
the
point.
Western world.
We have come to one bit of agreement on this whole dissertation, that it can be done, it can be worked on, it can be fixed if we just stop the
Yes,
politics.
we can.
Work
That's
on
true.
it.
Who would
Why
fix
do
it?
we-
Who would
huh?
fix it?
The United States of America. The way we
But what
fix a lot
branch
of
of
things.
government would fix it?
The House, the Senate, and the President.
I agree with you.
And the House has to do something besides what they're not doing. They're letting this clunk, this brainless twit,
We have several
Run
bills
him into
right
the
now
ground.
to address this because it's as
All right.
even Brett Baer said, it's a political firestorm.
let's talk about Smoot Hawley for a little bit. I'm sure this thing,
Can we talk about something else instead?
you want to talk about, you don't want to talk about
It's
Smoot Hawley
related to
right now?
immigration, and it's a local issue, and I was going to bring it up with Mark Garang if you sat at your table.
Yeah, you're just trying to
Here's
act-
the issue. Last week,
Yes.
a guy in Lewiston died, okay?
That happens all the
He's a
time in Lewiston.
35-year-old guy, right?
Yeah.
But this guy was beaten to death by Somalis.
Oh, that's not good.
No, it isn't good. So there's a place called Kennedy Park in Lewiston, and
Yeah.
it's in a poor neighborhood, and so you've got poor native Mainers, French
Whatever.
descendants, whatever they are, right? They're there, and Lewiston's a poor city. It's,
Yes.
And then you got about 20,000 or 20,000 or so, 15, 20,000 Somali immigrants.
How many people in the whole town, do you know?
Oh, they're about 20% of the population.
Wow.
And how many people live
So
in
it's probably
Lewiston?
200,000 people in.
Maybe
just did a quick-
I was too high. I don't know, but they're a substantial portion of the population. And there's ethics. So that they said First of all, they said there were fights. The Lewiston Sun Journal, which is owned by the Portland Press Herald now, I read it in the accounts in both papers, and they didn't mention anything about Somali. The word never came up. And then in the broadcast from the TV, same thing. So they are soft pedaling this issue. Okay, they can soft pedal it all they want, but it is happening. And the people on the ground, they know who killed who. There have been no arrests. So some of it's on tape.
Yeah.
Somebody had their phone out and videoed it, so you can see who did it.
Yeah.
But there have been no arrests. This is a volatile issue.
Yeah.
It's a local issue, and Manchester has a huge population of Muslim immigrants who do not assimilate. They refuse to assimilate. Some of them do, but most of them do not. And this is a problem. It's a problem in Europe especially, but it's going to be a problem here if present trends continue, and it looks like they are.
Okay, so you had a Somali kill somebody. You assume he's Somali? He could have been from Kenya. I mean, I don't know.
Many Somalis
If they
do come
didn't
from come from refugee camps in Kenya.
But you're making the assumption, as a lot of good Republicans do, and I understand that. You see something on TV and pick it up in the paper, and a person that's black killed somebody.
It's not the race. It's
Well,
not the
you're
race.
talking about
It's not a
Somalis.
racial
What
thing.
if he's from Kenya? What if he's a black person from South Carolina? I mean, how do you know?
It has to do with religion. It's a religious thing.
The Somalis, they're Catholics, aren't they, a lot of them? I don't even know.
No,
what they
they're
are.
not. They're Muslims.
Well, anyway. So, I don't, look, if the guy was Italian and not Somali, would they print this Italian from, the town killed somebody? I don't know, I'm just asking. Is it just because he's black that we have to report? Is it because
I
he's an
didn't mention that
immigrant?
he was black. I said that he was
Well, he's
Somali.
Somali. Well, I make the
That
assumption.
I didn't mention that he was Muslim, and I should have. He was a Somali Muslim.
So
or that
how do
the
you know he's a
group is.
Somali Muslim? Did they say he was?
No, I've been following the Lewiston situation for about 20 years.
Okay, I understand that. I'm not throwing brickbats at you. I'm trying to find out A, how you knew he's Somali. B, how you knew he's a Muslim. C, how he actually killed the person.
I heard about from this woman on something called Refugee Watch. She sends out several newsletters every day.
Okay.
And I saw it from Jihad Watch, which is Robert Spencer, who is an international writer on these issues. He covers a lot of Muslim immigration in Europe and also in the United States.
Well, I'm just asking because I don't know how all these things all of a sudden pop up, and you're saying, well, it wasn't reported in the paper. How do they know? I don't understand. How does somebody living in Turkestan know that a Somali has killed somebody in Lewiston, Maine, unless they get it on the internet, right? They wouldn't know. If they don't report it in the paper, they say it's a Somali Muslim.
I have my own sources as well.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't have any. My problem is I don't have any
belong to a
sources.
group called Mainers for Responsible Immigration.
Okay. Well, so they have a bone to pick too. These people. That's why I don't go on any of these things on the computer anymore about left, right, Catholics, Protestants, Somalis, Muslims. I don't read them anymore because you know why? Because a lot of them are bunk. A lot of them somebody that's got an axe to grind, and they toss it out there. There's people that do it every day of the week. My wife looks at them. This stuff she reads to me. Who the hell? How do you know? How do they know that? And it's like they just know by osmosis.
For 30
so you're not
years.
doing that. You don't do that for a living, okay? What you do for a living, you're reading what somebody else writes, and you think they're truthful. You know what? A lot of times they're lying. A lot of these people are liars, Tom.
Well, it's also possible that the moon landing was faked and Brazil doesn't
Well, that
really
was
exist as a
brought up
country
at
in
one
South
time, that the
America,
moon
you know what I
landing
mean?
was faked.
I tend to, some sources I believe, some sources I question, others I outright reject. Another issue I'll bring up, it has to do with Harvard Medical School.
You're running out of
Two
time.
things are going on in Harvard.
What?
Well, I remember these. This is part of my show prep. Do you think I'm taking too much time? Do you think you
No,
need some
I'm
more
not.
time?
No, I'm not ready to pull up like that. I'm just here. I'm here as an observer.
Two things going on at Harvard University. One is they're being sued for their, in my opinion, their racist policies. They're racist against Asians. and Asian groups are suing them for their so-called affirmative action, which is a euphemism for racism, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They are excluding Asian immigrants who are qualified under their
They're too smart.
admissions criteria. And they're doing it by fabricating the files. They pretend to have a process that they stick to. But even without interviewing these Asian applicants, they say, oh, they have personality problems. And I wish I had my notes. I could give you the specific wording they use. And this is coming, it's in court now.
Yeah.
It's in court.
I'm sure.
Federal charges. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is, I had a doctor for about 32 years from Harvard Medical School. He taught, teaching hospitals at Mass General, Brigham and Women's.
Right.
I was at Mass General many times with this guy. And I got to know many of the fellows, and my brother-in-law, my nephew both went to Harvard. I'm kind of familiar with it. So Harvard Medical School and Brigham and Women's is run by a woman, now Dr. somebody, I forget her name, it's in my notes. She went into Brigham and Women's lobby where they have pictures of doctors who started this hospital 100 years ago. She said, I was in the lobby and I watched people come through and I read their minds.
She read their minds.
That's
Pretty
what she
good.
claimed.
Wish I could
She
do
said,
that.
I looked at their faces and I could see that they were thinking, these are all white men and they don't represent me. So after reading the minds from just looking at their faces of these people, she took them all down.
Took the pictures down.
She wants to put up, she took them down because they were white guys, all but one. I don't know what color that guy was, but she took them all down. And she's going to disperse them. She's not throwing them in the trash.
No.
She's dispersing them to other smaller conference rooms around the hospital. And she's going to put up more diversity type pictures showing,
It's a
people
very
of different
diverse-
colors
yeah.
and sexes
course.
and so forth on there. This is what's going on. Okay?
Well,
Back 100 years ago, all the doctors were white guys.
exactly.
So,
And
that's
none of
just
them
the
were
way
women.
it was.
None of
Today
them were
it's
women.
not the case. Today is not the case. So, okay. But, and if she did that, and quietly, and put up pictures of today's
Yeah,
doctors,
mingle.
nobody would say anything.
Right.
But she's made it a point.
Well.
She's saying, they're white guys, so they're gone.
Did you notice
This
what
is
happened?
a dynamic.
Let's get back to
This is a dynamic
I
that's
understand-
very troubling.
I understand. Well, you can be troubled about it. I know you'll lose sleep over it. But here's the thing. Yesterday in the White House, or the day before, our dear Trump, dear one, we'll call him from now on our dear one, took down all the pictures in this particular room and put up pictures of his meeting with Un, the North Korean dictator who runs gulags as
Do you
a
know
hobby.
what room it was?
I don't know. It's one of his rooms there that, the public gets in to see. I don't know. It could be in the
Okay.
blue room or the green room or the red room. I don't know.
All right,
But it's kind of funny that you mentioned pictures on the wall. He goes over and has this great success. I can't wait for to fire his first rocket towards Guam. I can't wait because he thinks this guy's a truth teller. Oh, my God. But anyway.
On the affirmative action thing at Harvard, this isn't coming out in court.
Yeah.
An Asian applicant has to have a SAT score 130
Yeah.
points higher than the white
Yeah.
applicants do, and
That's
they have
true.
to have, and the whites have to have it. They don't go into this, but I
Right.
happen to know from other cases. The whites have to have one that's like 100 points higher than blacks,
Oh, yeah.
and blacks have to have Hispanics is the next one,
Yeah.
and then blacks they have the required lowest scores. So clearly they want to exercise diversity by discrimination.
Question for a live question. Does that apply to Asian Americans?
It's an Asian American from California that's shown as the spokesperson for this lawsuit.
This is a question going on by Tom.
That's right.
Are we on right
So
now?
I don't know the answer to all of the people assigned on to the suit, but the spokesperson is an Asian American guy.
Can we talk about Smoot Hawley
Yeah.
for a while? Can we
All right,
just
go ahead.
discuss what's going on
Go
in
ahead.
the real world? I mean, these are onesies and twosies, and I understand that the media on both sides chases these fire engines the way a cheap lawyer does somewhere when he's looking for an accident claim. But you know what? The real world right now is what our boy, our dear one, is doing concerning, he's repeating, basically beginning the repeat of the Smoot-Hawley Act. When we,
Which was under the Hoover administration.
under the Hoover administration, good old the chicken in every pot, Mr. Hoover, he loved our folks too. And let's not forget when they broke up the camps looking for their bonuses in Washington, and General MacArthur went and cleaned
World
out
War I
those.
vets.
Yeah, all the World War I vets. But anyway, I digress. Smoot-Hawley was passed in the late 20s, and it really has been considered that it basically pushed us over the brink.
I believe it
into
was the early 30s, but go ahead.
it was
He,
after
he,
29.
he served until
It could have been 31 or
April of
something. Yeah.
33.
Yeah, it
Hoover
could have
did.
been 31 or 2.
Yeah.
You're right. And so, but anyway, they passed these tariffs thinking they could forestall this disaster. And they went and they blocked trade and this and that, and they charged people more money for
Most
shipping.
economists say, would agree with you, not all.
Yeah, they'd have pushed it over the edge. Right now, auto pricing here next year is going to go up. The price of pork is going to go up. Manufactured goods from China are going to go up. The things that fill Walmart, the things that fill the store, that most people,
Buy.
average folk, buy.
Yeah.
Not the people living in Buena Vista and, they
How about iPhones?
iPhones, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to go to jail over that one.
Because they make iPhones in China.
Yeah,
But
and they
are
make
they
that
American
company
products or are they Chinese products? I don't know.
I don't even understand it, but the stock market effect could be huge. It dropped a few hundred points yesterday. After I used to do a lot of investing in the stock market for 20 years or so, and after looking at what the prices of these stocks are, something is radically wrong. And when they drop, they could drop 20.
Which stocks are you watching
Oh.
that are dropping?
Caterpillar, all these stocks, Boeing, $300 a share, $250 a share. price
They
earning.
went down by that?
No, that's
degree?
what they're selling for. the prices of stocks.
Where they previously had sold, so that's
They were
a
previously-
lower
yeah.
price? They've
No,
gone
now they're
down by
high.
several?
No, they haven't gone down yet, but they're dropping, and the stock market itself dropped
200 or 300
point
points
and a half,
yesterday.
1.5%, something like that yesterday. But the thing is, I think it's all built on sand, because these prices have gone up, quintupled over the last 10 years, some
They
of them.
have, yeah,
The values.
yeah.
You got people offering 45,
It
75.
looks like we're due for
We're
a
due for a turn.
correction, if not a crash.
And he could be playing us right into it without even knowing what in the heck he's doing. And I don't think he does know what he's doing. Think about it this way. You're a teacher. Does that make you a great politician? Probably not. You rented apartment buildings. Does that make you a good? No.
I rent one apartment. I have one
Yeah.
apartment that I rent. Yeah.
You may qualify more than he does. But the point is, Smoot-Hawley, I think, is being recycled again. And if we don't get a
Okay,
handle on it,
Smoot-Hawley was passed in the early 30s.
Right, it
The
was
stock
around
market had
32.
crashed in
29,
1929, October.
Right.
So Hoover was taking actions to what he thought
Trying
would
to-
correct
right.
this issue.
Exactly.
And it didn't work. And then there was a bank collapse
Yeah.
in early 1933,
Yeah.
just as Roosevelt was being inaugurated. And that's why his famous speech was, "There is
Which one, the
nothing
chicken?
to fear
But
but..."
fear itself.
Yeah.
But-
So, because the banks, people were running on the
Oh, sure,
banks.
the
And
banks were
so
closing.
Your fear is what's causing the banks to fail and da-da-da-da. Okay. Most economists and historians agree with you that the Smoot-Hawley tariff was disastrous, but not all of them do. Okay, they don't think that Hoover's policies to deal with the economy were what caused the Great Depression, and that Roosevelt was the one who got us out of the Depression, so to speak, as most Americans and most historians keep on repeating. There are other views, and I used to believe, as most people do. Now I am considering that Roosevelt's policies were not different in substance from Hoover's, that Hoover started aggressive government intervention in the economy to try
True.
and prevent that.
True.
And Roosevelt continued to do that
True.
in the New Deal.
True.
And that both of them were guilty of the same things, that the best way to handle that depression would have been the way Coolidge handled the post-World War II depression in the
Post-World
early
War II.
1920s. What?
Post-World War I.
Excuse me, yes, I did. Post-World War I depression, by saying, hands off. And it corrected itself, and then we went into the roaring 20s, which was an economic boom, which might have gotten too much of a boom, like you just alluded to with our stock market is overinflated now.
Oh, it was
It was
then, too.
probably overinflated
Oh, it was
then.
hugely overinflated then.
Yes, and so we are probably going to have some kind of a disastrous correction, if not crash or whatever it might be. What would be the best way to handle that should it happen? I think the way Coolidge handled it.
Leave it alone.
Do nothing.
Well,
Let it correct
that's
itself.
why he was called a do-nothing president, as a matter of fact.
And
But yeah,
by
I don't-
doing nothing, he was successful.
I don't disagree with your premise, okay, at all.
Yeah.
And not being an economist, although I do play one on TV.
This is right. Here you
The
are
the
playing
thing
one.
is, I think
So am I'm playing one.
I see a great similarity between 1929 to 1938 with 2009 to 2000, I'm sorry, no, to 2004 or 5 to 2009. In that same period, we had in the 20s, we had the roaring market. We had these various mechanisms trying to forestall it for the problems. Smoot-Hawley, all this stuff, and it kind of pushed us over there. And it's true. You know, one of these people don't realize Hoover had one of the highest IQs ever recorded for president. It was like 182. He's a brilliant man. But he was just in the middle of a bad spot. Now, in 2004 going to 2008, what did we do? We had a market that was roaring. We had the dot-coms that were going crazy, okay?
Yeah.
They all started losing. We had huge investments in real estate. We had the banks playing games all over the world.
Yep.
It all hit at the same time. The confluence was something. We were losing 600,000 to 700,000 jobs a month, amazingly, during 2007, 2008.
And how did Bush deal with it?
He dealt with it by probably, they had that, I think Obama actually was the one that pushed that recovery bill. I don't remember what it was. They were loaning money to the banks and all that kind of stuff.
It was going on during the presidential campaign.
Yes, it was.
And so in 2008.
Yes.
Okay, so, and what they passed was the
can't remember
troubled assets,
Rehabilitation thing
what
or
was it
something,
called?
yeah.
The
I understand. Trouble,
acronym.
yeah.
Okay, and it was essentially, so you had all these investment firms and banks that were collapsing,
Yes.
right? Bush did what Hoover and Roosevelt did. He
began with-
intervened. He bailed them out.
Yes, he did.
Instead of allowing, and General Motors was going bankrupt.
Right.
And
They
so
wanted, no, the Republicans wanted them to go bankrupt. Do you remember that?
they should have
They said, "Let it
gone.
go." Well,
They should have been allowed to collapse.
That's another opinion, but
That's
I
my
don't,
opinion.
I don't say you get.
I-
Here's the point: Obama comes in the middle of this maelstrom. Okay,
Yeah.
begins the process of renewal. Whatever he did seemed to somewhat work. Jobs begin to get better. We went from 10% unemployment in 8 years down to 4% unemployment, 4.25%, I think, when he left. So that was improvement. The banks kind of went straightened away a little bit. So that was the same thing that happened in the
They were bailed out with
in
trillions
the
of
early
dollars.
30s, and then problem now is
TARP, Troubled
Right,
Assets
Troubled Asset
Relief
Recovery
Program,
Program,
TARP.
right. But the problem now is maybe there's $2 trillion tax reduction he's given and
Yeah.
I think it lands mostly on the very wealthy. You can say, well,
Because they pay the taxes.
They pay all the taxes, therefore give them more money. I understand that.
Not give them more money.
I think it's very
Don't
illogical.
take as much from them.
Okay.
You're not giving them money. It's their money.
If we had done that at the end of the 1930s, the only thing that bailed us out in the 1930s was December 7, 1941.
Okay.
That,
I'm
we were
with-
spending-
We agree.
we were spending 90% of the GDP during World War II.
Yeah.
Now, the war ends. You've
There were
seen
what?
the war ends.
Yeah.
You've seen pictures of Europe after 1940,
Right,
46.
Right.
Okay. We then had the Marshall Plan.
Right.
Well, we floated a bunch of money, God knows how much money,
We did.
to Europe and other countries around the world, Japan, the Far East. We became the leaders of the quote-unquote free world.
We were.
We were. And we spent a lot of paper to do it.
And the Cold War began.
And then the Cold War. And then we had to build up for Russia. So the point is, you go through these phases in your political, but what I see right now is, then we had a Roosevelt. Then we had a Hoover at the time. We had a Truman. We had an Eisenhower. We had a Reagan. I want to mention a few of the others.
You skipped several.
Yeah, but that's okay. They were the ones that were the most successful out of the group, okay? What do we get now? Donald, can I rent you a room, Trump? He has he's surrounded himself with people that have no knowledge of what they have to do. These people are shills. They're out there. They're hustlers.
I don't agree.
You don't agree?
I was agreeing with everything you said for the last 10
Yeah, but
minutes.
you can't agree that
Can't
these
agree with
people are
that.
the worst. You don't have the people that he had. You've got nothing. These guys, you're going to compare these people to John Foster Dulles and people like that, and Ed Meese, and Donald Reagan. You're going to compare these clowns, these escapees who are probably all going to be in jail before long, even the guy that just shorted the market because he knew the stocks were dropping.
Yeah, you said that over breakfast. I don't
Let's
know.
talk about that guy Pruitt, one of your favorite guys. You've been supporting him forever. Pruitt.
Well, I like what he does. That is officially in his,
Let's tell him what
in
he
his
is,
policies.
what he does.
Okay?
You have to
I
tell
mean,
him what he does.
he's the EPA
Head of the EPA.
yes, and he was I think an attorney general in a Midwestern state
Oklahoma
somewhere,
or Kansas.
and he was good there, but now he's doing. I like what he's doing with environmental policy, but I don't like. I mean, clearly he's
Come on,
using
say what he
his
is.
office to make himself a little fiefdom, and little serfs that do his bidding, and spending taxpayer money on things that shouldn't be spent on. So he's doing stupid stuff like that over and over again. I mean, the first few times I'm thinking, okay, well,
He's under like 16.
but now it keeps on doing it, and he's clearly that's a problem, and it's taken away from his the effectiveness of his.
well,
of
that
his
is
job.
see when he
I think
was
he should go.
when he was Attorney General in Kansas or Oklahoma, he fought continuously against environmental
Like
protection.
which ones?
Oh, I don't know now.
It's
with
important
water.
which ones.
The coal mining interests, and there was a lot of
No
the
coal mining
fracking.
interests in
No,
there.
no, but he was representing.
Fracking, yes.
He was working
Okay.
for the Koch brothers and stuff, and the guy that was put in jail down in Maryland for a year. He's running for Senate now or something. He was the head of one of the coal mining companies.
I agree with you. He should go, but not for the. And no, you cited those reasons. And he
Look
has,
at the others.
he has a little kingdom that he set up, and that's wrong. He
Can
should
we
just.
run through a few of the other cabinet members?
Well,
Do you
let's
even want to
just stick
discuss them?
Okay, I don't know. You mentioned one of the cabinet members that was charged with shorting stocks and
Yeah, he's
what I would call insider trading.
That
Right?
just happened.
Okay. Well, I haven't read about that, and I don't know the circumstances, so I can't comment. But I will say that when it comes to the EPA, which
Yes.
that it's the Congress passes legislation, the president signs it. All these different environmental laws
Right.
that have accumulated over since Nixon started the agency, right?
Right.
So the trouble with that is you have a law. The bill could be very voluminous,
Oh, yeah, probably
but
1,000.
then this is the bill. It has a certain policy
Yeah.
change, that it's trying to implement. But then it goes to bureaucrats in the agency, and they write a set of regulations that's this tall to implement
Oh,
the
I
bill
know.
that was this
Paper.
tall. And that is true in every cabinet
Absolutely.
agency.
Absolutely.
So who has the real power? Is it the Congress people who pass this,
Lobbyists.
or is it the bureaucrats,
the
unnamed career employees, civil servants protected by public employee unions that write these? I would say it's the people who
You
write
realize what
these.
happens? You realize what happens in Congress? A guy from some computer company comes up to you. You're a voter, Republican. Here, vote for this. They pass out hundreds of these things every day, and what do they do? Oh, wait a minute! You gave me, hey, Julie.
And I got a nice job for you.
How much
that-
did we get from them last election? Oh, 80,000. Fine. They don't even read the freaking bills.
I know.
And that's what we're in. That's
You're
what I'm
right.
saying. What
I'm
really
with you.
concerns me,
I'm with you.
whether it's a Democratic House, Republican, I don't care. They don't know how to read anymore. Look at this one.
5 minutes.
How about this? I've been watching Fox, and I watch it every day for at least a few minutes.
Which ones?
Fox, the afternoon, Brett Baer, the other guy there. He's a pretty good reporter. He's on the afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock.
I don't watch in the afternoon. Go ahead, yeah.
What's the current deficit?
Right now, about 21 trillion, or 20
Where
trillion,
have you
somewhere
seen
in there.
that
The
on
deficit,
Fox?
wait a minute, the deficit is one thing, the debt is another. I answered the debt. The deficit is about $800 billion
Okay,
in the last
all right,
budget.
the debt is
The debt is 20 to 21
21
trillion.
trillion, okay? I used to watch Fox every day. I'd pick it up for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe a half hour every day. all during Obama's administration. They had a clock up there every day that showed the debt, or the deficit. It's disappeared. Their clock must have broke. Because they're not talking, we went up $4 trillion since Obama left.
I agree with you.
I mean, where the hell are we going?
And we're going to,
Here-
we're about to
Here's the thing.
collapse. You're right. You're right. I don't argue with
Automobiles,
that.
2-3 years ago when I leased my cars, they had deals like you wouldn't believe.
Leased cars.
I
Okay.
leased 2 cars, fabulous deal, no money down, 3 years, blah, 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 blah. They're all coming off next year, right? There's millions of cars that were built 3 years that are coming into the used car market
Good,
next
because
year.
that's the kind of car I buy.
Very good, okay? I'll give you a say of Chevy. It's fabulous condition. But the thing is, when they increase the prices on new cars next year, I'm telling you right now, sell the car market short. Because they will not be selling that many new cars next year. So the markets, as I explained to you today, about selling short, going long, go short the market. You'll make plenty of money on automobiles. To find a money market fund that just does automobiles. You'll make some money.
I don't
hey,
invest in stocks. I invest in real estate, but go ahead.
why don't you read this one? I think this is a tariff thing.
Okay, we haven't got much time left.
No,
Let's-
we're running
The United
short.
States has imposed new tariffs on many countries, including China, Canada, and the European Union. Will these tariffs reduce the amount of trading the U.S. does with these countries, and how will the U.S. economy be affected in the long run? You want me to answer it?
Go ahead.
I think, I checked it out. The last time you were on, we talked about a trade deficit with Canada, a trade
Yeah.
imbalance. If you look at American economic accounts, we have a trade surplus with,
Right, 8
with
billion,
Canada, as you
yeah,
said.
right.
But if you look at Canadian government accounts, they have a trade surplus with us. So I don't know what to think about this. But the bottom line is, I think Trump is using this as a bargaining tool. Here is my opening position. Increase tariffs on this and this by 20%, 25%, whatever. Now let's sit down and negotiate. That, I think, is what's happening. I hope his negotiations are successful, but I think they're dangerous because a trade war, I agree with you about Smoot-Hawley, is not a good thing for anybody in the whole world. So it's a dangerous game. Will his bargaining pay off or not? And I don't know. The stock market is betting that it
You got to
isn't.
admit that a lot of his voters, okay, as I see them when they're at his rallies and stuff,
Yeah.
they all look like they got about 38 cents left in the bank, and they're driving a 25.
Are you a
remote
mind
ship.
reader too? You can
No,
tell
I'm
by
just-
looking at their
I
faces.
just see them.
We're
I see
Harvard
them with
Medical
their dirty
School women,
T-shirts and their dirty old black hats. Here's the thing: when those prices from
They're
China,
deplorables.
I know the deplorable. When those prices on Chinese goods hit Walmart, and instead paying $2 a pound for
You think they're going to
hot
go
dogs,
against Trump?
they go, oh, they'll turn on him like a snake in a hat. Are you kidding?
I don't think so.
They will. You know why? Because even though, look, they agree with his anti-black, anti-Hispanic sentiments. They agree with all that. They agree with a lot of stuff that they don't
They're
understand.
racist, but
Yes.
you agree with Hillary, huh?
No, here's the point. I don't think they're that knowledgeable. I mean, they
Are they
applaud
bitter
for him.
clingers, the way Obama called them?
What would they call them?
Bitter clingers?
Not bitter. It wasn't bitter.
That's what he said.
Hangers on or something.
No, he said they're bitterly clinging to their
know,
guns and religion.
We had a good
and-
show today, but
Yeah.
yeah. But there's half the stuff we didn't get. We need a longer show or something.
1 minute left.
I don't
Well,
understand this
we
because-
do, but but
I need my vacations. I'm
we're going to
I need my
have,
time off.
Mark Orang has agreed to sit in your seat July 4th. The next 2
Oh,
weeks
that's
from today
good.
on a
Oh,
Wednesday is the
wonderful.
4th of
I
July.
get the 4th of
Maybe
July
he
off.
realized that, maybe he
You
didn't.
think he'll definitely
I
come
think
back?
I will be here on July 4th, yes.
Is it the 4th here? Not the
Yeah.
4th. You can't do it on the 4th.
Well,
a
that's what it's
federal
scheduled, and
holiday.
I'm prepared to do it.
What did Donald Trump just eliminate that holiday?
It's not done on a Monday or a Friday, it's always done on the 4th, because it's the 4th, so we have
You
to.
know, remember
have to do it.
back in this, I guess it was the late 60s when Donald Trump decided he wanted to go to war? That damn foot
Right.
of his. He never got in the military. Do you know that? He never got in.
You're going to bring up something
Was
we
a
haven't got time to
bone
cover, all
spur.
right? So don't
know,
don't bring it up.
Remember-
Don't bring it up. We don't have much time left. Folks,
right.
thank you for
Thank you for
tuning
coming in, really.
And I
It's
hope
been-
that we have
So
not
you-
bored you to death. At
So
least.
Garangatang will be back in 2 weeks.
That's the
I
plan.
don't see how. But anyway, hey, don't call me. It's a holiday. I will not work for half price. Thank you.